I'm Steve Wilkerson, and I'm with Jim Saunders, Executive Editor of the News Service of Florida. Jim, there was legislation passed recently in 2012 regarding personal injury protection, or PIP, automobile insurance, no fault. But there's already talk for 2014 of another reform package. What's going on?
Yeah, in 2012, the Governor Scott and Chief Financial Officer Atwater, Jeff Atwater, and some legislators and the insurance industry were concerned about fraud in the PIP system. Basically, there's clinics popping up in South Florida and especially the Tampa area, and they said there was a lot of fraud and that was driving up insurance rates for pretty much everybody across the state. So they passed a pretty wide-ranging bill to try to clean up that fraud. But there's a lot of concern already that may not be working, and that they may have to revisit it. There was a bill filed last week by Representative Carlos Trujillo of Miami, basically to do away with PIP, which has been in Florida for decades.
Now, what is the heart and soul of PIP? What's
the heart and soul of PIP is that basically it says that $10,000 worth of medical expenses will be covered if there's a car accident.
Regardless of fault.
Regardless of fault. So if I hit you, and you have you would get $10,000 worth of coverage, medical coverage, or whether I was at fault or you were at fault. So it's been in Florida for a long time, and the whole idea is that if you can take care of some of these claims just with no fault, that it'll keep disputes out of the courts. Now there's a lot of legal cases involving PIP, but that's sort of the basis of it. But as I said, Representative Trujillo has filed a bill to do away with PIP, and David Simmons, who is the chairman of the Senate Banking and Insurance Committee, very well thought of, very bright guy, he has been sort of pushing along that idea too, although it hasn't quite crystallized in the Senate at this point.
Well, is he moving toward a fault system where somebody has to prove fault and then get some kind of coverage?
The idea is to replace the PIP system with mandatory, what they call bodily injury coverage.
Okay.
And that is a fault system. And but basically a lot of the disputes then would play out in the courts. But sort of the theory is or the hope is that you would kind of get rid of these clinics that have caused all this gray area, and maybe not get rid of them, but in terms of the disputed claims that have raised these questions about fraud, that would help do away with it if you just sort of went to a fault system.
Well, we'll follow this issue on through the session. Legislation was passed last year. It was very much covered in the media to bring more transparency to the campaign contribution process. Does it seem to be working, or what has been the results from that legislation?
Yeah, as of this month, November, for a couple decades probably, I'm not sure when it goes back to, but you could only write a $500 check to a candidate, or that's all you could write the check to. Now you can write a $1,000 check to a legislator or most other candidates, and for statewide candidates like the governor, you can write a $3,000 check as of this month.
So it set new limits higher.
Set new limits higher, and basically the theory is it got rid of some types of committees that were very hard to track. There was money flowing through them. It was hard to know who was given, who was getting the money. So the law got rid of these committees, which are Tallahassee speak is called committees of continuous existence. And meanwhile, it got rid of that, but it tried to allow more money to flow through the candidates and into their accounts, which is theoretically easier to track and to see.
So that part of it's working.
Well,
or it seems to be.
It's a little early to tell, but there's definitely going to be. I mean, it doesn't appear that there's going to be any reduction in money coming into the political system. There is so much money flying around right now. Governor Scott hasn't even opened his campaign account, but he has a different type of committee that's raised almost $14 million this year. Charlie Crist, who's going to be the Democrat, is running, for governor on the Democratic side, has opened his own committee. So he's going to be raising a lot of money. So there's money just flying all over the system right now.
Thank you, Jim. For more news about Florida politics and government, visit the Advances section of our website.